Staying with the AIDS conference, Kaseke is a paralegal manager at Section 27, an advocacy group taking part in the Durban conference. And she joins us live from our Durban studios. Thanks for joining us, Violet. Now, the theme of this year's conference, reflection, refocus and renewal. Talk us through the significance of this conference.
Okay, as we're moving towards the end of the MDG goals, which is the Millennium Development Goals, we are looking to reflect that what is it that we have done to date, what is it that we have achieved to date. So as we move towards refocusing, we also need to be looking at what are the challenges that we're currently facing, especially with the health system. As we can see that the health system is crippling in South Africa, people do not have treatments. And some of the challenges that we constantly face, where the health workers in some of these hospitals, especially the community healthcare workers, are not employed under the proper conditions, so they're able to give actually the right, services to the people. What are some of those challenges that we're supposed to be looking at and taking into account?
Now, we heard the Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, highlighting some of the successes of government in dealing with AIDS. From your perspective, how would you assess South Africa's efforts in fighting AIDS?
I think South Africa has come a long way. As the DP rightfully put it, that we do have the biggest antiretroviral program in the world. However, we cannot actually ignore the challenges that we continue to face. As I said earlier on, that South Africa currently has, especially if we look at some of the health systems, especially in the Free State, where we have a crippling health system, we have shortages of treatment, we have young people that are constantly being infected with HIV, as it was reported as well by the DP when he says that there's between the ages of 15 to 24 years old, there's over 2,600 young people that are infected with HIV every single day. What exactly are we supposed to be doing? What are we doing? As we take stock, we need to take some of those things into perspective to say that we are applauding that we have come this far. However, the challenges remain. What exactly are we supposed to be doing right now in terms of the refocus? What are the strategies that we're supposed to be putting in place? And what are we supposed to be correcting so we actually get to where we want to get to?
Violet, let's talk about stereotypes, particularly on ARVs. What are the most common and how do they negatively affect the fight against the scourge?
The most common stereotypes is usually issues such as adherence. People, in terms of taking treatment, other people do not actually adhere to treatment, not particularly because they do not want to adhere to treatment, because treatment is not available in facilities. And we also have issues of stigma and discrimination that the country is facing. We have issues of stigma where if somebody gets tested with HIV, some people right now, because there are not enough health workers in facilities, people are tested without pre and post counseling. So somebody is tested HIV positive, they'll go back home and they start to face internal and external stigma because they're not actually, some of these issues are not addressed.
Now, you work with society.
So we need to be addressing issues such as stigma and discrimination.
Violet, you work with society quite a lot. Do you think that ordinary people on the ground get the message clearly to get tested on time and to live right?
I think we have organizations such as the Treatment Action Campaign, we have NAPWA, we have Positive Women's Network that are doing extensive work to ensure that communities are actually informed about this particular, about these services that are available and people that are tested and treated on time. However, as I say that, we need to actually be doing a lot more on the ground rather than actually just depending on some of these just particularly on these organizations alone. The communities as well actually take, the responsibility into their own hands to make sure that they receive this particular education and they are educated and actually try and do the right thing.
Now, let's look at the reality of our society. What would you say are the main challenges facing people infected and also those that are affected? The main challenges currently that are facing people that are infected and affected is, as I say again, the unavailability of treatment. And as well, we can actually even take an example of schools. Do we have the right sexual reproductive
health education within schools. You know, and we were actually talking about making condoms available in schools. What are we doing about things like that? Where the Minister of Education did say that there's over 20,000 young people that are actually falling pregnant in schools, and most of those are infected with HIV. What are we doing in terms of getting the right sex and sexual reproductive health education in schools and making condoms available in schools? And exactly how are we also addressing some of these issues to ensure that people that are infected and affected actually get the right treatment and get the right message so they can actually practice so they can actually get the right treatment and live positively.
Now, we know of a case of an employee who was fired from a Kimberley private mining firm. He reportedly tried to establish a support group for his colleagues. How rife are stories like these? And is there a way organizations like yours can help in such instances?
We do have I can actually give an example of the Andisiwe Dwenga case that we had where she was fired from the South African National Defence Forces for being HIV positive. So we actually do work together with other organizations, such as the Treatment Action Campaign again, to make sure that, you know, we address issues such as discrimination. And those are some of the things that we can also, be able to support the communities using the law to ensure that people's rights are actually recognized. And we also have, you know, we also work together with other organizations and other civil society organizations to ensure that, you know, people know about the Constitution, people know about their rights, and how exactly do they enforce their rights.
Let's go back and touch on the main issues that the conference will look into, such as social, economic sciences, and human rights. Can you break this down for us? Mm-hmm.
I think we need to be looking about, you know, where are we with treatment? You know, what is the progress that we've made? We can even take a look at the TB treatment. We need to be looking at that. What progress have we made in actually trying to ensure that we have the right TB treatment? You know, what progress have we made in terms of, you know, are we making the FDC available, you know, in the country? Those are some of the issues that we need to be looking at. And if they are not available, what is it that we're supposed to be doing? And we also need to be looking at availability of generic treatment in the country. You know, treatment is very expensive. So what exactly this conference is supposed to be using that particular platform to say, you know, we need to ensure that we have generic treatments available in the country. We need to have affordable medicines in the country to make sure that everybody that tests HIV positive is actually on treatment.
We'll have to leave it there, Violet. Thank you very much for joining us. That was Violet Kaseke, and she's a paralegal manager at Section 27, and she joined us from our Durban studios as we explore advances made and challenges in the fight against HIV and AIDS infected and affected people.